It's Nolan. Now, before we get started, make sure y'all hitting that like button. Make sure y'all sharing it on your respective platforms. Let somebody know what we're doing today. Now, let's get into the show. I dedicated so much time to working hard. I triple that to submit the fact I don't work a job. My God, I was undervalued, underestimated, misunderstood. Had to sacrifice myself for them frankers like making good. Fuck it. Gave myself a budget, balancing funds and some crutches. Sit back and watch the industry when they smile, I can't trust it. Hit a 180, these artists in a 360. I plotted from watching Emcee, I'm swinging like Jack Dipsy. Who these niggas playing? I got my fam in the shit like the Wans. It's like a wedding, how I vow to exchange with these bands. If I needed your help and I never got it, why you hitting up my line? The result could be catastrophic. Yeah, I'm philanthropic, I figure fraudulent seeping through. Niggas can't read, so I can't expect them to read the room. Hard to smoke, it's really just feeding fuel. Fishing, I could feed a fool. Try me, you gon' eat from out a feeding tube. I played humble and never got what I wanted. When I start talking cash, the money just start coming. The laws of attraction ain't even outside, but I've been active. Not to mention the rapping, my pen game's scholastic. Southern underground, wavy is an ultrasound. Disrespect us, you get crescent kicked up in your mouth. Bow to my presence, my presidents take precedence. Nas told me hip hop died, I gave him the EpiPen. I control all of this shit autonomous. Hacking niggas like Shaq or Anonymous. Y'all been sleeping on me. I'm on the island by myself like an ottoman, y'all. Don't make me fuck up your perception like Oculus, y'all. Freak styles like Akinelli. Nothing y'all can tell me. Thumbs up to murder, Fonzarelli. Buzzing hot as Nelly. Y'all can't compare me to these 2K niggas. I be drilling in your queen like them UK niggas. What's going on, beautiful people? It's the kid J Nolan here. Welcome back to another episode of Inside the Industry, your number one source for music, entertainment, commentary, and breakdowns. Hope everybody's doing well this evening. Okay. Now, in this particular show, we're going to be talking about Drake and Party Next Door, but more specifically Drake. Unfortunately, Party Next Door, you did an album with Homie. You know what I'm saying? So any publicity or shine or good looks that you were expecting to receive from this project, you know, your homie wanted to take the shine, right? Because he wanted to put music out. So y'all decided to put some throwaways out there. You know what I'm saying? But mostly going to be talking about Drake in this video. Okay? Because there seems to be a few different levels of controversy surrounding this new Some Sexy Songs for You album that was just released on Friday. Number one, we've got some controversy surrounding the nature of the album cover, where the idea came from. We have this guy, John Rivers, who came out and said that he literally spoke to Party Next Door and the people over at OVO. He did a music video some years ago in front of the CN Towers with that exact angle that they used for their album cover. Now, when I first saw this circulating, I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't all that compelled to talk about it. I've been seeing the talk for days. You get what I'm saying? Because I'm like, okay, the towers are there. That's architecture in the city. I'm quite sure other people have taken the same photo. Hell, it might be other rappers in the area that have done that shot in their music videos, right? But as I dug deeper in to see homie actually spoke about it and spoke to Party Next Door specifically, I'm like, okay, I'll add it to the docket. Still wasn't in a rush to talk about it, right? But then we also had the Give Me a Hug record, where Drake is dissing folks, making reference to Kendrick, dissing Joe Budden, big upping Melissa Ford. You get what I'm saying? Throwing shots at Kanye. A lot of people still ain't caught on to that whole elimination of Drake thing being a direct Kanye shot. Or at least some people didn't. So I was like, okay, I talked about that. All right, bet. Went and listened to the rest of the album. I wasn't impressed by any of it, but that's just not my style, not my steez, not something, you know what I mean? Even if it wasn't Drake and Party Next Door, it's not an album I would listen to. You know what I mean? So it's all good. But then you've got people that are claiming that this album is being suppressed by Spotify. People are coming out claiming that when the album first dropped, they weren't able to find it, right? Then you got people that are saying that Drake is out here running wholesale deals on an album as one of the biggest artists in the entire industry, doing markdown Walmart prices for people to order the album direct to consumer. I thought that was interesting. It's just a lot of different things that are going on. Then there's some allegations of perhaps on Drake's previous tour that a young lady who was underage in school was invited to his after party, and they're claiming that although there was nothing, intimate going on, it was still a little bit too close for comfort. And then of course there's that whole A minor thing, right? That people that are Drake fans vehemently fight against. However, there seem to be multiple instances where, as a near 40-year-old man, you wouldn't want to be so close to young ladies that are not above the standard, right? And again, I know people ain't gonna like me saying that, but it is what it is. If it wasn't out there, it would be nothing for me to talk about. You get what I'm saying? So we're going to cover all of those things in this video. We're going to talk about the success of the project as well. And we're going to talk about all of the things surrounding it. So there's that. So we'll talk about the success first, okay? Party Next Door and Drake simultaneously hold the #1 spot on the US iTunes albums and singles charts with some Sexy Songs for You and Nokia, right? So as of the current week, from February 14th moving forward, which will conclude probably around Wednesday, Thursday of this week, they're at the top spot with the album, and they've got the song Nokia that is currently at #1. So, they at least have a perceived hit. Now, where it's going to land in terms of the Billboard and all of that type of stuff, we'll have to see once those updates come in, probably next week. And for anybody that doesn't understand how these charts work, if you think you're going to find, Drake or Party Next Door on the Billboard charts, just a few days after the project is released, it just doesn't work that way because they need time to tabulate. They actually need the entire first week, especially with the music industry dropping on Friday mornings, with that being the standard, you still need a week to process everything. So don't be so eager. It's going to come, but y'all going to have to wait. All right. So if you see another week of Kendrick Lamar at #1 and you don't see some Sexy Songs for You on there and you don't see Nokia and all that stuff being reflected, it's because everything comes out, really the week after you would think it would be there. That's when it's going to be there. All right. But at least there's a #1 album and a #1 single on the iTunes charts that can be tracked down as of now. The only problem is, after the first day, unfortunately, it looks like they saw a 44% decrease in streams. Okay, so here it says Drake and Party Next Door's Some Sexy Songs for You saw a 44.1% decrease in streams in the US in its second day on Spotify. So they opened up with over 28, almost 29 million listens on Spotify. And of course, this is just one platform, Spotify. But by the very next day, it went down to 16 million. Okay. And here they say not one song is doing above 1.4 million streams at this point in the US. And I'm sure at this point, that's probably not the case. But at the time of this being published yesterday, this is what they were saying. And basically, what this is detailing is people tuned in to hear what was going to be said on the project. But the overarching theme, now some people do love it. Some people like it. Some people really have an affinity for Drake and Party Next Door when they collaborate and, kind of have a certain expectation of what it is that they do together. But for what I've seen, a lot of people have been pretty underwhelmed by the album. You know what I'm saying? But there was still a level of curiosity to see, what were they going to say? Then there's the Gimme a Hug record that Drake was still throwing shots. And there's a couple other records where he's throwing shots on the album as well. So people wanted to see what he was going to do, if he was going to still play into the beef, if he was going to be completely removed from it, and all of those different things. And I guess once people found the answer that they wanted, they weren't necessarily running back to it. The other controversy that I didn't even mention in the intro of this video was the perceived ripoff that Party Next Door and Drake may or may not have did to Freddie Gibbs. So here we have Bootleg Kev talking about Freddie Gibbs and Drake meeting up a while ago, around the time that Freddie Gibbs put out his record, Sold Separately, which was the original, dollar sign album that a lot of people were comparing it to. So here's Bootleg Kev's explanation of the jacking that allegedly could have taken place. He says, myself, Freddie Gibbs, and Drake sat at a bar in West Hollywood, Harriet's, for over an hour, talking basketball, hip-hop, etc. He says, Gibbs, my witness Drake, was arguing with me about why I thought he didn't have a classic album. Wow, Bootleg Kev, you, damn, you said that to that man's face? Shit. No wonder he didn't like hearing it from Kendrick on that Euphoria. He says, same convo where Drake and I made a bet about my Phoenix Suns. During that convo, Fred and Drake talked about his hopping on something for Sold Separately, right? So they were having an alleged conversation of actually getting Freddie Gibbs a Drake feature on this project that people are claiming he ripped the title and the branding from. Okay. He says Freddie sent him a record Pharrell produced. Oh, yeah, that wasn't gonna go well. That nigga ain't like Pharrell, even though he played like he did long enough to get them jewels from him. But of course, his issue with Pharrell is that he be producing joints for Pusha T to kick his back in, but we'll keep going. Freddie sent him a record Pharrell produced that never made the album, but Drake had intended to get on it or something. Never came to fruition, but Drake is a fan of Freddie, as any hip hop head would be. So here is a photo of these two together to show, because some people would assume, based on Drake's celebrity, based on his fame, based on his status in the game, he wouldn't be aware of someone like a Freddie Gibbs, who is, I wouldn't say an underground rapper, but he's definitely an independent rapper that can traverse through multiple different audiences, right? Every now and then he'll cut through and have something that mainstream people know, but a lot of his music is lyrical. It's got underground style beats. He'll work with Madlib. He'll work with, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes he be rapping too fast for some folks, all the different excuses. Very hip hop though. But without this picture, some people would say, man, Drake don't even know who the fuck Freddie Gibbs is. Well, you can't say that unless you want to say that this is AI. Okay? Bootleg Kev follows it up and says, I'm not saying the coincidence of Drake and P&D using the title and rabbits in the branding was intentional or not, but he says what y'all OV hoes not about to do is act like Freddie Gibbs is reaching. Now, I can't say what Drake and P&D did deliberately, but Freddie Gibbs feels like they ripped him. Now, here's the story from John River, okay? And we'll just go, I'm going to come back to this whole thing, but this is John River right here with his music video that was shot in front of the CN Towers years ago. It looks kind of dusty, not very impressive. But you see the angle, you see the shots, you see the towers. Okay? Now we have Party Next Door and Drake. They're shot right in front of the same towers. And when I saw this album cover, I said, it's clean. Now, I will say it's clean, you know what I mean? So I wasn't hating. I saw some people online that said them niggas look like Ren and 10 from Brown Sugar, the Hip Hop Dalmatians. I didn't say it, But I saw some people saying it, right? But nonetheless, Real John River felt like they ripped this idea from him too because they wanted to work with him. So he says here, Party Next Door wanted to get on a call after my video went viral in the country. And this is Canada, by the way. He says, on this call that lasted around 2 hours, he told me he watched the video 20 times. Okay, so he's saying Party Next Door is a fan, but not the one Kendrick Lamar was talking about, right? And he says, in front of me, in front of the Monroe Towers, was labeled new, innovative, and iconic. Why are you getting attention instead of me? Is exactly what he said. So he alleges that PND, an artist that signed to Drake, signed to OVO, signed to Sony, who's been out in the industry, I would say at least 10 years, asked an underground artist who most people never even knew, asked this man, why are you getting attention instead of me? Now, I can't say whether or not Party Next Door actually said that. That's what he's alleging here. But I don't know if he said that, because that would be a little bit crazy. But he continues. For over an hour, he then told me and tweeted and deleted that I needed to always pay him homage. Why he would need to pay him homage? I don't know. He says, you're young and you don't want to get blackballed. Okay. The rest of the call, he was fixated on every aspect and detail of my video, the towers, and my vision for the city. Multiple people were present. I told him I respect his music, but homage was strange. So he says he has multiple witnesses of this conversation that took place for over 2 hours. I don't know, but that's what they're saying. Now, in the comments, they have some people here. This guy, my name is Ish, says, LOL, his old manager called me asking me not to use symbols in my tweets because that was kind of his thing. So I don't know what's going on out there in Canada. But it seems that folks that are on the ground out there that are in the music scene might be used to folks from OVO or affiliated with OVO making strange calls, telling artists that are out there, hey, you can't do this, or let me see where you at. You know what I'm saying? They kind of either poaching styles or trying to withhold others and say, hey, that's kind of this guy's thing over here, which is like, nigga, you tripping off the symbols I'm using in my tweets? Really? I don't know, but this is what they're saying. He continues, though. When another OVO artist asked to sit down, he also began asking in depth about me, the Monroe Towers, my thought process, and all of my future music plans surrounding them. So once again, he gets interrogated by another OVO artist, allegedly, where they're trying to figure out all about him off of this one music video. I find that to be strange, but stranger things have happened, going up on a Tuesday. He then asked if I'd write for them, to which I said no. He never spoke to or saw me again personally. This started when I was a teen and has been happening up to as recently as 6 months ago under the guise of admiration. I got 12 texts on Tuesday around noon, and then I saw the PND cover and I instantly knew what had happened and been happening. So of course he's alluding to, they've been watching him still in his swag, still in his, his sauce. And then he saw the album cover come out. He says, I would never ever claim a freestanding building as my own. Telling someone after obsessing over their work you want to be involved, dissecting it, being rejected, and then stealing their identity and reselling it as your own is insane. Taking this further or any other direction will be painted as crashing out. I don't want anything. The Bible says speak truth against injustice, defend the poor, and fear no man. I don't care about anything else. So he says he's just stating his piece. He doesn't really want to go too far with this because he doesn't want to be seen as a crash out. But he is acknowledging that in his estimation, they're taking from him, and they've been reaching out to him trying to keep tabs on what he has going on, but then disappearing on him and popping out with his shit. Again, allegedly, right? He says, everybody says don't sell your soul in this music industry, and yet when you speak up against something clearly immoral and wrong, they rush to protect the same predators they warn you about. Now, that's a fucking word. He says, I love my city. They know where I'm headed and believe in my potential. Nothing else needs to be said. Okay? And then he goes back to his slide. Okay? Now, for whatever reason, looks like his comments have been limited, which I'm not surprised by because I'm sure there's some OVO fans and people that were harassing him in the comments. As with anybody in the music industry or entertainment industry that has a vast fan base and people that are very defensive to the person that they like or the people that they like have some weird parasocial relationships with these folks, they're going to come out and start going crazy. So at this point, he's turned his comments off. Wish he would have kept them open though, but just so you could keep tabs on what everybody's saying because you might need it. But that's where we stand with Mr. John River. So now, over here on NFR Podcast, they come out and report that Drake liked a post allegedly saying that some Sexy Songs for You is being suppressed on Spotify while Kendrick Lamar's GNX shows up normally. So we've got a tweet here from, it says members, so I'm guessing they're a part of the OVO community on Twitter. And they say, so I search for Kendrick on Spotify and GNX pops up. Then I go ahead and search for Drake and Party Next Door and Money for You doesn't pop up. Spotify on some bullshit. And you've got Drake Champagne Poppy. He comes out and likes it as the DJ that don't spin posted it on his page. Okay. So of course, if Drake likes it, then he must feel like the fix is in. He must feel like he identifies with it. Perhaps some people communicated to him that they were having trouble finding the album on Spotify. I'll say when I went and checked the album out, I didn't have any problem finding it, but I didn't check it out till Saturday. So maybe the first 24, 48 hours, there could have been, I can't say because I didn't check it out in that time. Even the, what's the name record? The Give Me a Hug, the Where My Hug At anthem, I listened to that via YouTube, so that was not a problem for me to find. But they saying on Spotify, it was like low-key shadow ban in their estimation. Here we've got another member of the OVO community, Mr. Iceman 666. He claims he's a lawyer. And he says something shady is happening with Drake's new album. And as a lawyer, I can't ignore the legal implications. He says his latest project, Some Sexy Songs for You, is mysteriously underperforming despite his proven track record. Let's break it down. Now, remember, Drake is currently at odds with Universal. Universal's not pouring any of their resources into this project, although they are tagged on due to Drake's involvement. They're not assisting. Right? Because they're at odds, they're in negotiation, they're in a ongoing lawsuit, multiple ongoing lawsuits that Drake brought to them, right? So Sony is the ones that are having to put the firepower behind the project. And as we know, Party Next Door on his own, what did he sell off his last project? Like 38,000 or something like that. Salute to all 38,000 of them. But he's not a major draw on his own, right? He has a niche fan base of people that love what he does, but he can't hold it down for him and Drake both off his own promotion, right? So the people that are checking it out are going for him and off of Drake's name, but none of Universal's resources are being put into this, right? We'll move forward. So he says this isn't just a flop, right? So now, who said it was a flop to begin with? Like, we don't even have the numbers in to say it's a flop. This feels like this sounds like preemptive conditioning for people to say that there's a fix. But I'll continue to read what he's saying. He says this isn't just a flop; it's looking like industry interference. Fans have reported that searching for the album on Spotify is weirdly difficult. If you can't find the music easily, you can't stream it. Simple as that. He says, as much as I love Drake's music and have been a fan for years, this isn't just about him. If labels and platforms can manipulate visibility like this, they decide who wins and who vanishes. Letting it slide now means any artist can be next. This is bigger than just one name. He says Apple Music numbers say the complete opposite. The album is performing normally, relatively there, But on Spotify, buried in search, missing from playlists, streams looking off, one platform shows success, the other looks rigged. He says that's not a flop, that's suppression. He continues, Drake is going to win this. Why? Because if UMG and Spotify manipulated his album's visibility, it's tortious interference, which courts have ruled against before. Now, tortious interference is illegal. He says this isn't just music politics, it's a business sabotage case. Now that part, I don't. It's music politics for sure. He says the situation with some sexy songs for you needs serious scrutiny, whether you like Drake or not. This case could expose how labels and streaming giants really operate behind the scenes. If true, it's not just unethical, it is illegal. And here he starts throwing in Kendrick's name. He says, oh, so numbers matter now. I guess this is when Kendrick's records started being, and if you want to see the video talking about Kendrick's breaking records, just go to the channel, came out before this one. So as that stuff started getting announced, I guess he took to the community to throw it out there. He says, oh, so numbers matter now? That's crazy, because when Kendrick was doing half of Drake's streams, it was all quality over numbers. Also, I was never even talking about Kendrick. I'm talking about industry tactics. Y'all switch narratives faster than Kendrick switches flows. At least you know he got 1 million of them flows. So he goes and references, he says, remember Jay-Z's Tidal versus Apple dispute? Apple allegedly tried to block 444's promotion due to competition. Legal threats forced Apple to back down. Drake's case is bigger. If he exposes label streaming collusion, it's a major industry scandal. He says this is the biggest artist in the world facing what looks like an intentional blackout. Imagine what happens to smaller artists without the platform or resources to fight back. So he's putting out his perspective of what this could mean business-wise, industry-wise, and how this could play into Drake's lawsuit moving forward. But we've got this user here saying, where's the sabotage? And they posted the looks that Drake and Party Next Door are getting across Spotify, right? Drake is the face of the Rap Caviar, which is one of the most in-demand playlists on Spotify, period, especially for hip-hop. It is the playlist for real. You see Drake and Party Next Door as the face of R&B. You have another one here that says hip-hop. You got another one that's below my face here, Party Next Door. You got Party Next Door face and Drake here. You got Drake right there. So perhaps all of this has changed since the first day. Maybe they say, hey, we got to make this look clean for the people. You know what I mean? But again, this user here is trying to say they don't see where the sabotage is taking place. Now, despite whatever's going on with the streaming platforms, people are also looking at Drake's and Party Next Door's selling tactics under a watchful eye, because they're trying to understand why they're selling their album for such low prices. Over here on the OVO Sound / Some Sexy Songs For You website, you see we got the CD here, and I guess this is with some nice patterning and stuff on it. $9.99. I think that's pretty standard money for you CD. But then you've got Some Sexy Songs For You limited edition album cover jewel case CD, $7.99. I do think that's quite low for a Drake. And then you've got Some Sexy Songs For You limited edition album cover soft pack CD, which means that it's going to come in like a kind of like an eco-friendly cardboardish cover, digipack type of thing. And that's for $5.99. Again, for Drake, that seems pretty cheap. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you want to look at the competition and everybody's going to compare these guys. I think Kendrick's albums CD started at $10. There was nothing lower than that. Everything else went up from vinyl and other things of that nature. So folks do feel like they're trying to reduce the price to drive more traffic, sales, etc. And in the midst of all of this conversation, critique, debate, and people just generally trying to figure out what's going on and what's going to happen with this project. There seems to be some new allegations coming out against Drake of, let's just say, consorting with a potential minor, a girl who was in her junior year of high school a couple years ago when she went to Drake's tour. And it seems that she was given access to after parties in which people were consuming alcohol in her presence. And um, she claims they held hands, had some long conversation or whatever. And I'm sure most parents of a 17-year-old wouldn't have been too happy to know about their daughter having that type of connection with Drake, a nearly 40-year-old man, in that sort of private setting. So here's what they have to say. I don't know the validity of all this. All I can do is tell y'all what people are saying, what's out there. But y'all let me know what y'all think it is.
Say, Drake, I hear you like him young. I've been trying to tell y'all Kendrick Lamar was not lying on Meet the Grrrls or Not Like Us. And this group think that they caught Drake in 4K. In July of 2023, Drake was performing at the Barclays and stayed at the Mark Hotel from July 15th to like the 23rd, 24th. He had shows at the Barclays from the 17th to the 21st. Now on July 19th, he posted this and it's still up. It says, "My shorty from Astoria who looked like she can be in Euphoria." Did Kendrick already know this? Now on a previous picture, this guy, David Jagan, he commented, "Sir," he tagged this girl in the after party. She sent me a message, I sent them to you. I covered the app, but this is the girl. Check the caption, "Shorty from Astoria who looked like she could be in Euphoria." And check the date, July 22nd, 2023, 3 days after Drake made that post. And it would start raining now, but on the same day that she made that post, she posted this on her Instagram story. And it says, "After party vibes when you legit hug Drake and hold hands and you had a whole convo." Also on the same day, she posted this, "I'm never questioning how hot I am ever again, getting invited to Drake's after party." And that looks like alcohol in front of her. And if you wanted to know how old she was, she graduated high school the next year in 2024. In Meet the Grrrls, Kendrick Lamar said that Drake got people streamlining girls calling them Tinder, just bringing girls to him. He didn't sue for defamation about that, huh?
Now, the fact that she said, "I'm never questioning how hot I am again," that does sound a little strange, you know what I'm saying? Because clearly the invitation must have been based upon her perceived hotness, you know what I'm saying? So that does seem a little strange. Now that this thing is starting to spread, the young lady it looks like she's deleted her social media. She's deleted her Instagram page where all of this information was obtained from. So if you're going and looking to fact check it, if you didn't get there before this video is published, you won't be able to see it. I'm sure she'll be back on social media at a later time, but she may start a new page or something. But all of that was there. I remember seeing it yesterday, but as of today, it looks like the page has now been knocked down. She is an adult today, but at the time, she was under the age of 18. Okay? Now, was she drinking? I don't know. How deep was the conversation that she had with Drake? I personally cannot attest to it. Them holding hands, I didn't see it on video, so I can't say they were holding hands. She claims they were holding hands, right? So there's that. But outside of that, I can't say that he had nefarious intentions, but I can say that it's questionable, and her presence at an intimate after party, exclusive after party with adults consuming alcohol and liquor, having a great time when she is not of age, does strike me as strange. You know what I'm saying? She's not a family member. She's not somebody, related to anybody else that was in attendance. And she said, "I'm never questioning how hot I am." Again, that had to be based on her perceived hotness from somebody to say, "Drake would love to meet you." In her stories, she also said that people were telling her how beautiful she was, and that they were asking if she was a model and that she needed to model for some company. So there were some level of, from her perspective, of compliments that spoke to her appearance and her image, right? Again, that's what we have. I can't place allegations on people that I don't have enough information about, but it does seem close enough to check out and be in line with some of the other stories that have circulated about Drake. Don't know the extent to which he moves with these young ladies, but it does seem that there's too many stories of this happening where they're in the circumference, in proximity, and kind of forming these preemptive friendships before they become of age, which is standard grooming practice. You know what I'm saying? I have to be honest about that, but I also have to be honest to say I can't say what he did or didn't do. I can only say from the outside looking in, that's how it appears. Okay? So y'all have the opportunity to say what y'all feel. I know people are going to say he's a PDF. I can't say that on my platform, especially if you've been watching my content for the last few months and I've been evaluating cases where content creators are being sued by celebrities and people in the public eye for allegations. I ain't putting myself on the line to be sued. You understand what I'm saying? But y'all feel free to let me know how you feel about the information that's been presented down below in the comments. We can talk about it. Be sure to like and share this video. If this is your first time seeing me on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, become an insider, and I will catch y'all on the next one. All right? Much love, respect, y'all. Peace.
King of my city and cul-de-sac. Coming out swinging like soldier rag. Leading my people like quarterback. Boy, I study this shit, I'm an almanac. Had to get up and grind. Knowledge is booming, I'm here to apply. Came with the chip and the dip, it just single the mind. We finna do more than survive. I need my check. Spinning the block for the Gouda. We hitting the jeweler to flood out the net. We don't do beef for computers, I'm straight out the sewer. We come when you rest. Niggas be looking perplexed, so keeping my foot on their neck. No map, I trust my gut for the quest. With drama, I'm fully abreast. I was ready for years and they doubted me. All of a sudden they tell me they proud of me. I been dropping these haters like calories. Cross them out, I came back with some battery. Stand for my honor, but too raw, no corner. Packing the stick with a drummer. Wanna catch my bad, won't fumble. I done came too far to be humble.